So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us once again for another instalment of the VRL F2 Championship. We are here for round number 7 here at Marina Bay in Singapore. Home to the first night race back in 2008 on the Formula 1 calendar, and it's still as popular today as it was back then. And we are in store for another exciting race with some of your favourite drivers from the VRL F2 Championship. So it looks like we have a full grid, thankfully, once again today. And just to mention, a special guest once again has joined us, Yoda Speak 77. For those of you familiar with VRL will know that he was the Season 2 champion of VRL Formula 1. And he is here once again today. Hopefully, we'll be able to put on an even more impressive show than last time out and maybe score some points for the Haas team. So coming towards the championship situation, it's really starting to take shape. Once before we thought the championship may have seemed gone and perhaps already won, but no, that's not the case at the moment, and it looks like we may have a championship battle after all. With still quite a few races left to go in the season, it seemed that VSR_ICE was running away with the championship. However, that doesn't appear to be the case, and is under some serious competition for the likes of Burkai in second, Pepine in third, Steve Vrl in fourth, and also the Italian Grand Prix winner last time out, Jay Fletcher. Starting to build a little bit of a rivalry now with Mr. Fletcher between him and ICE, and we'll be looking to see if those two can provide some great on-track action for the rest of this season. And who knows, if the championship leader ICE does slip up, then I'm sure Fletcher will be ready to pounce as soon as possible. Let's not forget though, there are plenty of others in this championship like Burkai and Pepine as well that could still cause a challenge. Right now the championship standings, ICE 45 points ahead, so it's almost an insurmountable lead, but it ain't over until it's over. And I'm sure there are plenty of drivers in the paddock that will be looking to try and see if they can capitalise on any mistakes from our championship leader. Turning to the Constructors' Championship situation, it's the same story. Racing Point at the moment top of the championship, however their lead is not quite as large as the drivers' one. Only a 21 point gap to the Renault team, with the Ferrari team hot on their heels as well in third place, a further 11 points back. Fortunately, thanks to the performances of Jamil in particular from his third place finish for the Red Bull team, they were able to get on the first time, score some points. Him and Xavi Mateos driving in the Red Bulls will be hoping to get some more points at a track that should favour the Red Bulls. Having said that, all cars are equal performance, ladies and gentlemen, as for those of you unfamiliar with VRL racing, so it's a case and down to the skills of the drivers to see who can get on top and who can prove to be the fastest. And now that brings us nicely just in time for qualifying. For those of you unfamiliar with how VRL F2 works, it's an 18-minute qualifying session to go around the track as fast as you can. In dry conditions, in normal Formula 1 conditions, the top 10 drivers will set their fastest times and start the race on the tyres that they have chosen. Everyone else behind them will also start on the tyres that they choose on the grid. So there'll be plenty of room for different strategy calls. As we're now waiting for the first drivers to come out of the pits, as I can see some of the engines revving up now. Some of the cars ready to get going. As we can see, the first cars are looking out. A Racing Point is on the way out now. Be good to see who that is, and we can see a Haas coming out of the garage now. So let me know in the comments section, guys, who do you think is going to be on pole position for the Singapore Grand Prix? Pole position is a very important position, especially on a street circuit like this one. But it'll be also important to see if anyone can make up ground in the chasing pack. From what we've seen in recent years in the real world of Formula 1, pole position is never always the best position to start from. As the first man out is championship leader ICE, a man who hasn't won in quite a while. If you cast your minds back to the Belgian Grand Prix earlier in the season, he had a win taken off of him in very controversial circumstances with a late penalty. Not to mention, leading the British Grand Prix until he disconnected also cost him a potential win. Having said that, he's the only driver so far to have scored more than one victory in VRL F2 this season, and will be looking to try and see if he can get back on the top step of the podium to reignite his championship charge. So the Singapore circuit, as mentioned before, joining the Formula 1 calendar officially in 2008, was the first official night race on the Formula 1 calendar. It's been there since and has proven to be one of the gems in the F1 season, as every driver looks forward to getting here at Singapore. And we'll be looking to see as a Ferrari's having an incident. That was Burkhardt there, just losing a bit of control, but he's able to recover. Doesn't look like he's got any damage, so he won't be too bad. One thing that is worth noting, ladies and gentlemen, is that this track is a street circuit and it's very tightly congested, so expect to see a lot of drivers dicing it out, jockeying around, looking for space and looking for room to try and set the fastest time possible. As under the lights we have championship leader Ice-T about to start his opening lap, followed closely behind by Yoda Speak 77, the VRL F1 champion from season 2, back with us for another race, and it's brilliant to see him here. So whilst Ice-T is on his first flying lap as we go through, the questions that you lucky lot are always looking forward to me giving you and seeing which one of you can get it right this week. So, we're going to give a two-part question, not a too difficult one. So at the moment, there in the real world of Formula 1, there are 4 drivers that have shared victories at the 12 Singapore Grand Prix held since 2008. Can you name which 4 drivers they were? I'll repeat, the 4 drivers that have shared victories at the Singapore Grand Prix since it began in 2008, which 4 drivers are they? Xavi Mateos has had an incident with as Kimi, and he's got a 5-place grid penalty. That is not what you want to be doing early on. And there's going to be a lot of incidents. It's a yellow flag in sector 3. It looks like a McLaren at the back, probably silly guy by the looks of it. Was in a bit of trouble, but he seems to have carried on. But we've got Ice-T on a flying lap at the moment, who's on the hard tyres, but he's being chased down by Yoda Speak, who's doing a time on the soft tyres. So different strategies already happening at the moment. So we're about to see the first flying lap come across the line as Ice-T is about to come around the final corner, the double apex, to set the first time, a 1:38.1 on the hard tyres. Not a bad effort, but he'll be looking to improve. And Tom Coronel goes even faster, 1:36.4. Tom Coronel is usually a very handy qualifier around the VRL F2 League, and he's set a very good time there. Max has gone third in the McLaren with a 1:39.1 at the moment. Now we're on board with Bois on pole in the Williams. Last time out was on pole position in Italy. He again is a very quick qualifier as Fletcher sets his first time at 1:37.4. So it's a good indicator to see where he compares to Ice-T, as Bois on pole does a 1:37.7. So now the times are starting to come in. A lot of drivers on the hard tyres setting their times at the moment, and it's a good indication to see those 3 drivers on the hard tyres, 3 of the guys we're expecting to be competing for pole position and maybe even the race victory. It's good to see where they all stand against each other. But it's 3 attempts from Fletcher to Bois on pole, and then another 4 attempts to Ice-T. So Ice-T has got some work to do if he's going to be able to hold back his championship challenges. As P&P Roddy really full committed coming out of the final corner, and you can see what that does. It's second fastest, but he's on the softer tyres. It's going to be interesting to see what tyres everybody decides to start the race on, but at the moment it's looking like a very wide variety of strategies. Everyone going for different tyres at the moment. Everyone's got plenty of different strategies. Will they stick to those as the session draws to a close? So now Jamal running the final corner, about to start his lap. We're going to go on board with Jamal in the Red Bull. Last time out, 3rd place in Italy. A very good podium finish from him. And he'll be looking to try and increase the points tally for Red Bull. Believe it or not, Red Bull had not scored any points in this championship since the Italian Grand Prix. It was only until then where both him and Xavi Mateos had both scored points for the Red Bull team. Very strange to see the Red Bull team not really on the point sheet, but it's good to see that they're finally on board. Jamal is looking very pacey, looking very confident, and this is a track that should suit him very well. Sets a purple sector in sector 1, so he's looking good so far. He's coming across there, Now coming up to the section which was formerly known as the Singapore Sling back in 2008, but took out many drivers with its complex chicane area such as Adrian Sutil and even 2007 World Champion Kimi Raikkonen. It has then since been rearranged and refurbished to make it a lot more easier so that the cars don't end up bouncing off the curves and flying into the wall. So I'll reveal the answers to the question, but it looks like some of you have been quite lively with this one already, so I'm going to have to give you something harder in the future. So well done to you guys. I will announce the answers at the end to that question. Jamil now is in the final sector. It was the so-and-so middle sector. It was very quick in the first one. Let's see how he gets on. He's on the harder tyres as well. So he rounds the final. It's a double apex. You want to go in, but oh, he's not really happy with that. So he's backed off at 138.8 for Jamil, which will take him only to 18th. And as I say that, his lap actually didn't count, so it didn't matter in the end anyway. So right now, Silly Guy in second in the McLaren on the medium tyres. So he'll be pretty happy with that. So now on ball with Bar on pole now. He's on the harder tyres again, but this lap will not count either. So just under 10 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know who you think is going to finish on pole position. And that is a great camera angle there of Xavi Mateos in the Red Bull as he tries to get further up the grid now. Let's see what he can do. He's very well committed coming into the turn. There's really long corner into out of turn 3. Now he's down the long straight, the big DRS section. This is the area where I'm expecting to see a lot of overtaking. Xavi Mateos, it's an okayish first sector. Nothing to write home about. I'm saying Tim Wetting, saying Jamil noob invalidation on the lap, and as I say that, Xavi Mateos has also invalidated his first lap as well. So moving further up the order, Fletcher has also improved. He is in second place at the moment, as he's gone even faster on the harder tyres, as you can see there. I'm not sure if he's on a lap at the moment, but it'll be interesting to see. He comes into contrast to his championship rival, who is currently in 7th place on his outlap. As now we're on board with Sean Larry, who was a winner in Belgium, as he was able to inherit the victory after the penalty for Ice-T in the Ferrari. So he'll be looking to see if he can pick up another race win. As I said, only Ice-T has won 2 races so far in this VRL F2 championship. So it'd be good to see if there's another driver that can add their name, or can the championship leader finally get back on the top step and increase his championship lead. There's an incident in Sector 2 with one of the racing points at the moment, but we're just sticking with Sean Larry now. Really well committed, but he's shifted down one too many on that time around, and then he swings it right and he'll swing it left, and now he's going to come towards the hairpin. You really got to be careful here. You do not want to overcommit and lose it, because you'll end up in the barriers. Just seeing some of the comments in here. So thank you, Luke, for your appreciation. I do love and enjoy doing commentary for VRL. And some of the other leagues I also do work with as well. But it's Saturday night. With everything going on in the world right now, we could all use a pick-me-up. And for those of you that have joined us, you've come to the right place to see the best racing action going. So looking further up the grid now, you can see Niltix has gone second point on the soft tyres that time around. Sean Larry goes 5th fastest on the hard tyres, so the track is getting faster and faster. Quite often with these street circuits, they do start out a little green, but they get quicker and quicker the longer the sessions go. So with 6 minutes left to go, we've still got plenty of racing left to go. Still plenty of qualifying left to go. There's got P&P Roddy just passing Magic Alonso, who's currently in 4th place at the moment. P&P Roddy in the other Mercedes, a very quick driver in his own right, one of the best driver helmets on the grid, it must be said. That nice metallic colour coming off and shining very nicely under the Singapore lights at the moment. Running in 7th place, will be looking to try and get himself further up the grid, just like his teammate is at the moment, who's the fastest of the hard tyre runners. But there's so much traffic at the moment which can really impede people, as you see in here, as P&P Roddy is trying to get through. A little bit loose on the, well, a little bit loose on the back end of the car, and he's very wide around the final corner, and he does a 1:37.4 on the medium tyres, does not improve, which will be disappointing for him. Lost a lot of time in that final sector behind the turbulent air of the Williams in front of him. So looking up the order, Jamil as well, out lap at the moment, running in Yoda speak, hasn't formally set a time yet at the moment. But he'll be looking to try and see if he can improve. The VRL champion for season 2. He said to me after the Italian Grand Prix he was a little bit out of practice, hence why he felt a little bit slow. Some of the guys in VRL F2 surprised him with how quick they were for pace, and he'll be hoping to try and see if he can pick up his pace with a bit more practice and see if he can be much more competitive. But he's cut the corner, and that lap is not going to count. A 1:36.7, it's not going to count, my friend. So he's going to have to do another one. And another driver, quite famous for doing some donuts in the Italian Grand Prix, Robert Dornbos. Didn't have a great time out in Italy, was just having a little bit of fun, put on some wet tyres and started doing donuts after the second chicane. I kid you not. If you want to see that, go check that video out. It's on the VRL channel. And for those of you who are new to us, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. We are Hot Lap Mode VRL PS4, all one word, on YouTube. Please help us out. We want to try and get to 200 as soon as we can, but let's help smash past 200 to get even further up, hey? Let's see how far we can really go. Let's make this the biggest online racing channel that there is on YouTube. We can only do that with your support and your help. And for those of you that have supported us so far, thank you very much. It has been an absolute pleasure to commentate and help bring you entertainment, especially at difficult times like this with the COVID-19 situation. So we have Robert Dornbos now a little bit concerned in this area. Now he's going to come into the under the bridge where a lot of drivers have really lost it, as Ice-T in the background has gone fastest on the medium tyres. He's done a 1:36.3, so that's a very good time, even though he's on a softer compound than the championship rivals, as Robert Dornbos has now given up on that lap because he's, well, invalidated it, so he's under a bit of pressure to get a lap in. So now with Fletcher, he's put on the medium tyres as well, so it seems that the hard tyre runners have decided to give up the ghost on the hard strategy and are now going for the mediums, as we're going to stay on board with Fletcher. What can he do? Can he respond to Ice-T? There's a yellow flag in sector 2 and 3 which has just been cleared just where Fletcher was. Now he's able to get back on the power. Let's see how he goes on this lap. It's very well committed. Oh, the back end got a little bit loose there, but he was able to hold on to it, and now he comes under the bridge. Another yellow flag just for the start finish line. The two Ferraris quite close together, but it seems like there's no damage done there. Back under green, Fletcher stays committed. He's gone right, he's gone left, just kissing the wall a little bit on the outside. It gives a little bit of room for that, but no scrubbing off time. He commits hard into the first corner, the second one, and he comes across the line, and that is an absolute stonking lap from Fletcher. 1:35.1. Wow. The entire paddock have been put on notice, and Ice-T just on board of him right now would have seen that time. Wow. I tell you what, the opposition may have just had their hearts have sunk. I can hear the sound of 19, well, 18 other drivers having a collective gasp from that lap from Fletcher. What a time that was from him. I've got to say, it's going to take some effort for anyone. Can anyone stop him from getting fastest? Ice-T at the moment, is he going to go for another lap? No, he will not. So he's decided to end it there. He's not going to have enough time to come in the pits and come back out, so he's committed for second place. So it looks like unless anyone is going to set an absolute flying lap, it looks like Fletcher is going to be on pole position. And technically speaking, he was on pole in Italy, but he had a 5-place grid penalty, which dropped him down into 6th place for the start. Doesn't look like he's going to be on any penalties this season, for this race I should say. It's starting to look very, very exciting. Also guys, let me know in the comment section who you think is going to win this race. Who do you think? Can anybody stop Fletcher? Can Ice-T get back in the hunt, get back into winning ways and restore and improve his championship lead? Or will we see a different winner? Magic Alonso has been very, very fast, plenty of podiums, plenty of great results. Could it be his time to get on the top step of the podium? Or will we see Bois on pole back in the mix, back at the front, the good drive, and perhaps a weight race win for him. Plenty to unfold. He's just on board at the moment with Niltix in the Racing Point, IC's teammate, on the soft tyres. Let's see, he's got some pace, he's been on pole position before earlier in the season. Can he do it again? This time on the softer tyres. There's every chance he can do it. We're going to ride with him now as some of the guys coming through the last corner. Now remember, the timer is a little bit laggy, so some of the guys crossing the line now are on their laps. You can finish your lap if you are starting it, but there will be a few that will still be able to start their laps. As I said, the timer is a little bit laggy at the moment, so bear with us. There's a few guys starting their laps now. I will let you know when the flag has dropped as the first guy passes over it. Niltix comes across the end of the first sector now. He's coming into the slow, tight and twisty sector 2. Now coming towards the former Singapore Sling chicane, which is no more after the previous incidents in 2008. It's now Niltix very well committed there. There's plenty of grip in that Racing Point. Those soft tyres not going now, and now the session is ending now. So anyone who has not started a lap time will not be able to finish, as a Renault there looked like it was going very, very slowly in the runoff area, but that has not impeded Niltix, who is 2 tenths up on his opening time. This could be, if he manages to hook it up in the final sector, he could find himself on the front row. He's nowhere near Fletcher's time at the moment, but that's okay. He could find himself in front of his teammate. What a twist that would be for the championship if Niltix was to out-qualify and get on the front row in front of his teammate when he's battling Fletcher for the championship. As he now rounds the last chicane area, as he go for the double apex around the final corner. And Niltix, what is the time going to be? And he stays 4th, just missing out, as Tim Coronel has gone 2nd fastest. Just missed that one in the Taurus in front. Tim Coronel on the medium tyres does a 1:35.8. The track was getting faster and faster and faster, and Tim Coronel, a very, very handy qualifier, has done it once again. And Bois on pole goes 2nd fastest in the Williams, as now we're seeing the times are tumbling. This is the time to be out on a lap if you're not already on one. And Bois on pole goes 2nd fastest, as Sean Larry goes 2nd fastest now. We may see someone beat that pole time. Can anyone do it? Silly guy was not able to do it there. Is anyone left on a lap? Yoda Speak goes 10th fastest. We're now with Stein in 15th. What's his lap time going to be? He goes into 10th place on the mediums. It's a great effort from him, and it looks like, is there anyone else on the lap? No, that is everyone else has finished. So what a finish to qualifying. Everyone was tumbling, and it looked like an insurmountable pole time was almost chalked off. But that is the end of qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. So just to quickly round it off, we have Fletcher on pole, storming lap from him. Sean Larry in the Ferrari 2nd, Bois on pole 3rd, Tim Coronel 4th, Jamil F1 5th, and championship leader Ice-T down in 6th. He is going to have some work to do in the race. Racing Point occupying 6th and 7th with Niltix. Tom Coronel in the Williams 8th. Javi Mateos, after a 5-place grid penalty, will be further down the order but qualifies 9th for now. Stein 10th in the Alfa Romeo, and Yoda Speak, the VRL F1 champion for season 2 in the Haas, 11th once again. He will have work to do in the race, and that is qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know who you think is going to win this race. At the moment, it's almost very unpredictable, but it's very, very interesting to see who's going to win this race. My money at the moment, I would have to say Fletcher is looking very, very quick. But there's plenty that can happen in Formula 1 racing, and especially in VRL racing, and you have come to the right place to see a very feisty and very competitive race. So it looks like I'm also going to have some company in the studio for this race. So about to join me now at any moment is my co-commentator, Marine.
Yes,
so,
hello.
And yes, here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Marine from VRL F1. How are you, mate? It seems like it's been ages since we've commentated together. How have you been?
Yeah, been good. Of course, we had the week break, which was nice, and we're back in Singapore.
And are you well and staying safe?
Yeah, it's of course weird times in this part, of the year, but yeah, guess we're gonna have to make the best of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you wondering how to make the best of it, well, you've come to the right place to see some of the best racing around. Of course, don't forget, guys, the VRL F1 race is also at Singapore tomorrow. That is at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow on the Hot Lap Mode VRL PS4 channel. You can also follow Vision League Racing and it'll get all the latest news and updates from your favourite racing league. You can join us on Twitter as VRL_PS4 and on Instagram as Vision Racing League, and also VRL News as well. Please follow VRL News page to get all the latest on the VRL Championships for F1 and F2. You can also follow our partners, Hot Lap Mode. They are on Instagram and Twitter simply as Hot Lap Mode. Those guys bring the best news and latest information, not only from VRL, but also from the real world of Formula One. Loads of great guys behind the scenes doing a lot of great work. And they're very, very early to a lot of stories, reports inside news very quickly, some about 2 or 3 days quicker than mainstream news. So give those guys a follow as well. It's very much appreciated. So back to the race, Moraine. We've got it was a very interesting qualifying session. Not sure if you were able to see some of it, but
yeah, I saw the last 2 minutes. So.
Yeah, the track was getting much quicker all the time. So it's going to be very interesting to see, especially with the championship situation that we have at the moment. We have currently Ice-T, currently 45 points ahead of the likes of Burkeye and 65 points ahead of his main rival, in my opinion, the man I'm with at the moment, Jay Fletcher, starting on pole position, an absolute stonking lap, equivalent to what Lewis Hamilton managed in the 2018 Singapore Grand Prix. What are your thoughts going into this race? Who do you think is going to be the man to watch, and do you think we're going to see a surprise today? It's Singapore, loads can happen.
Yeah, I saw Fletcher was on pole by a mile, and yeah, but maybe he gets caught out due to conditions or whatever, tire wear, or there could be safety car drama. Of course, in this game it happens very quickly after this patch from a few months ago. So yeah, will be interesting to see what's going to happen. Of course,
well, you're absolutely right to point out the safety car after what happened in 2008, the famous crash gate involving Nelson Piquet in the Renault, bringing out the safety car, allowing teammate Fernando Alonso to go on and win the race. But that was then, and this is now, and the lights are about to go out. The Singapore Grand Prix is, wait for the lights, there's always a delay, wait for it, guys. The Singapore Grand Prix is, and it's go, and it's Fletcher who's got a good start. Sean Larry has also got a good getaway as well. Is he going to dive bomb into turn one? Sean Larry goes in deep, him and Fletcher touch. Fletcher holds it around the outside, and Sean Larry's got the inside into turn 3, and he makes his stick, but Fletcher has still got the run on him, and it's a great getaway between those two. They've left him one behind. Fletcher's really committed into turn 3 and 4. Oh, they touch again, and Fletcher's gone wide.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, but he's held on. Larry has just about avoided that one. Fletcher just about keeping it going, as Larry takes the lead in Ferrari. As we go down there now, it's Tim Coronel, on pole, more into going, Burkeye, Stein, IT, all caught up in the mix. The 2 racing points are sandwiching the Ferrari of Burkeye, and this is all bedlam. And looks like all of the drivers, from what I can see, have managed to avoid any incident, except for a behind
at the back here.
Roddy.
Roddy and Papine have had a collision.
Absolutely, Roddy and Papine have had a collision, but it looks like...
Oh, there's another crash, Kimi and silly SLY guy.
It's one of the harder names to pronounce, and I'm to see Kimi and silly guy, yeah, so they're back at the pack, and that's what we're expecting to see. A lot of incidents, a lot of crashes, and it'd be interesting to see who can really keep their nose clean. Perhaps that's what it's going to come down to today, Moraine. If anyone can keep their nose clean in this race, they've got a good chance of scoring some big points today.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, usually in a night race, especially on the F1 game, it's difficult to tell what the weather's going to be like, but for now, it looks like a clear night at the Marina Bay, as Charles Ferrari, race winner in Belgium, is looking to lead the pack after the first lap, followed closely by Fletcher in the Mercedes.
Virtual safety car.
So it looks like there was another incident between Kimi in 18th and 19th. Roddy has lost his front wing, so just with him now. So I'm not sure what happened to him. So he's going to be spared. Oh, it's just around off the first lap there, Marine. Sean Larry and Fletcher getting very dicey off the line, and Fletcher, as a result, almost ended up pinning it in the wall after turn 3. His race was almost over straight away. What do you make of the start?
Yeah, at the front they all seem to get through pretty clean, but yeah, at the back there was a bit of carnage. Two collisions with two cars involved. So yeah, very interesting to see how they will get on with this race now. Of course, PMP Roddy, for example, and Kimi and Pepino are way back. They're like, let's say they're 40 seconds behind the pack. So
was Fletcher looking to see if he could try and make a move around the inside of Sean Larry. Just a little bit of a twinge to let him know he's there in his mirrors, but not this time. It looks like Fletcher is already sizing up Sean Larry to try and get ahead of him. We had a similar battle with Sean Larry's teammate Burkhardt, Italian Grand Prix, to take the lead after the safety car. Looks like he's got another Ferrari in front of him, but it's a different one. As Brian Pole already getting a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That's Fletcher almost losing the back end again. I tell you what, that back end of Fletcher's Mercedes already looking twitchy at the moment, as DRS has just been enabled, but Brian Pole right behind Tim Coronel. It's Sean Larry, Fletcher, Coronel, Brian Pole, all separated just over a second between the four of them. And Jamel in the Red Bull having a nice Sunday drive at the moment on his own, followed by Stein, who's now coming under increasing pressure from Ice-T, the championship leader. He needs to get a move on. He needs to start overtaking because he is losing ground to the leaders. As we're now in the DRS section, the front four all stay in line astern. No one trying to make an overtake just yet. IT has got in front of Stein, and he's up into 6th place. Burkhardt as well, getting very racy. He was just in front of Ice-T's teammate Niltix, and in 10th, Tom Coronel in Williams.
Jamil has crashed.
Oh yes,
he's lost his complete front wing.
Oh, that is such a shame, Jamil. Podium finisher for Red Bull, scoring their first points of the season in Italy, and he's already lost his front wing. Not sure what happened there. Burkhardt has just gone down the outside of Stein, just as a chicane area. That's a great move, Burkhardt in the Ferrari. He's not hanging about, he's getting on with it. And it's great to see Burkhardt getting racy again. As Tim Coronel's drove straight into the wall, and he's respawned again, and he's lost it, and oh wow. Tim Coronel drove straight into the wall there, Moraine. He respawned right in front of Ice-T and has managed to avoid hitting him, but the championship leader Ice-T now up into 4th place.
Gained 3 positions on that lap.
Yeah, it's just mistakes at the moment.
Yeah.
And if it was an incident with Brian Pole, but he ended up with his front wing, just completely lost it.
Tim Coronel's got big damage, and he's trying to go into the pits. Oh, what's he doing?
Yeah, wow.
Should have taken the left side.
Oh, and he's having a crash. Oh, there's a big crash with Niltix. They both just drove into each other into the wall, and he's hit the Renault. He's hit Magic Alonso. Tom, what are you doing? What? And now it's all really kicking off with these lots. Something's going to happen. I'm going to stick with this battle, guys, because someone is going to have a crash at the moment. We've got Niltix, we've got Magic Alonso, we've got Stein. 3 of them trying to go for the RS section to go into the turn. Who is going to get there first? Stein on the brakes on the outside, and he makes the move past Niltix into 6th place in the Alfa Romeo. And Magic Alonso tucking in 8th place. It is all kicking off now, and Yoda Speak having a very quiet race at the moment in 10th place.
Yeah, of course, the champion in VRL F1 back in the day.
Yeah, he was saying to me that he was surprised by how quick some of the guys were in the VRL F2, and I must say the pace and consistency of these drivers as a whole has picked up from where we were at the start of the season, which is good to see.
Yeah, exactly.
So right now we're 4 laps in.
Marcos down the inside with Steve needs to switch back on.
Yeah, we're just seeing it now. Magic Alonso just managing to stay ahead of Xavi Mateos. And Yoda Speak now in the Haas. Starting, and the back end getting very twitchy of the Haas there. He's starting to look a bit racy now. And Sean Larry setting the fastest lap of the race in the Ferrari, so he's got some pace in there.
Yeah.
That qualifying lap was not a one-off, so he's definitely got some pace, and he's doing a good job keeping Fletcher behind. And Fletcher knows if he's got any chance of winning this World Championship, he's going to have to win and win and win, and that's going to have to carry on today. And he's looking very close behind him. He's in the DRS. He's gone to the inside. He's going to have to go around the outside of Sean Larry to make this move. They're both very, very late on the brakes. Sean Larry, they touch. Fletcher, there's enough room on the outside, but he goes past Sean Larry, although was slightly off the track. Given that Sean Larry did punt him off the track, I'm wondering if the stewards will allow that move to be... Yeah, I don't think he's going to give that one back. I don't think the stewards are asking to give that one back, considering Sean Larry was the one that knocked him off the road. So I think Fletcher legally has retaken the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix. Let's see what he can do now, because he ran away with the race in Italy once he got in front. Can Sean Larry keep up with the Mercedes?
He needs to make sure he stays in the DRS, because on this game DRS is really important to get great results, because when there is a DRS train and you're right behind it but you're not in the DRS, you're not going to catch up to it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and there's a move now going Yoda Speak, trying to have a battle with Xavi Mateos in the Red Bull. Not quite this time. Maybe we'll go for it again later on in the race. We now got Magic Alonso all over back in Niltix. Niltix on those soft tyres. He's the only guy running with soft tyres at the moment, and you can already see he's starting to feel the effects. Those tyres are not holding up very, very well at the moment. And he's under increasing pressure, starting to build a train of his own, almost similar to the famous trains that Jarno Trulli made famous, as Niltix dives into the pits. So he's given up the ghost on that one. And talking of the DRS already, Moran, you can see Fletcher's set the fastest lap of the race now that he's gotten out of the shadows of Sean Larry, and he's starting to pull away, although Sean Larry still has DRS at the moment, so that will keep him in touch for now. But you're absolutely right.
He's gonna get away again.
You're absolutely right. With the limited traction owing to the turbulence of the wake of the car in front of you, it can really affect your aero package, especially at the front end, and Sean Larry will be feeling that right now, and that's what Fletcher will need to do. It's a case where he'll have to try and get away but also preserve the tyres. It's a long first stint for these guys. Depending on how far they go into the race, they'll probably put on the harder tyres later on if you're on the mediums now.
Yeah.
But of course, with safety cars, you might be able to, but the don't really seem to be an option at this point. At the time, well, this point of the race, the strategy is just not really there for them. The track eats them up very quickly.
Oh,
so
and Xavi Mateos has made a mistake. He's dropped down all over the place, and he's got big damage.
Yeah, he dropped down to 12th, and he's lost part of his front wing, I can see. And whilst all that was going on, it allowed Yoda Speak to move all the way up into 8th place now in the Haas. And with Robert Dornbos getting a very racy, Robert Dornbos, nicknamed the Donut King after his antics at the Italian Grand Prix, is now all over the back of the VRL F1 Season 2 champion. Oh, and the McLaren's gone into the wall. Silly guy, looking very, very silly there, losing part of his front wing, driving under the bridge. And he's going to have to... Oh, and he's lost it again, the rear end. He's slung it into the back, and now he's going to have to go into the pits. No surprises there.
As well.
Yes, Yoda Speak, 77, also pitting as well. Would you say this a bit early for him, given he's on hard tyres, 5 laps old?
Yeah, really weird, because he's on the hards, but
Not sure if
he'd be gambling on a safety car later in the race.
He's had to change... just to let you know, he's had to change his front wing, yes.
Yeah.
Also, Bois on pole. Also having a stop and in 10th place, so he's the first of the leading guys to pit, so he's going to try and go for the under... sorry, second actually. Sean Larry has just pitted as well. That was off screen, guys. So Sean Larry going for the undercut. So how will Fletcher respond? Will he stay out on these mediums, or will he try and pit again? Sean Larry and Bois on pole both started the race on medium tyres, so they're both going to end up having to stop again. So there's going to be 2 stops for them.
2 stops.
A 2-stop is not uncommon in this race. I have seen it work before, but it does require for you to get out in some clear air to make that work. And right now, if I was Fletcher, I don't know, I would probably stay out. What about you, Moraine? If you were Fletcher, what would you do?
Well, 1 stop is the safest strategy, so of course, and with the two-stop you're gonna put yourself in traffic, and you never know. You could always have a crash or something, or a silly incident where you accidentally lose your front wing to a car ahead, and then it get really hard to maintain the pace and be consistent enough to win. And probably the one stop is a much safer strategy, because you're pretty much in clean air for the whole race, especially when you're in the lead. So,
well, no, you're absolutely right. And Philip Smith, Big Phil, is agreeing with the sentiments of that one, as he's just said himself, what are they doing with the strategy, LOL. And Phil, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I'm a commentator and I want to remain impartial, but quite frankly, I'm a racer too, and I think that's a very ballsy move, I'm going to say, from Sean Larry. But he's just coming up the inside now of Max in the McLaren. He's on fresher tyres, and this is exactly what you want to avoid, having an incident. And yep, he's managed to make that move. He's up into 7th place now, just behind Robert Dornbos, who's on the harder tyres. So Robert, considering he got it all wrong in Italy, may get the strategy right later on. He's on the harder tyres now, 7 laps in. He's going to go long into this race. He's going to be very racy, especially once the track rubbers in towards the end of this race. So he could be on course to score some big points today.
Yeah, exactly. When the rest pits for hards, and he will pit a few laps later for the medium, so he will have a massive advantage at the end.
Sean Larry's going to go late on the brakes around the outside. He does. Is he going to hold it together? He does. That's a great move from him, and he's just ahead of Robert Dornbos. And that was a move he had to make, Sean Larry. He could not afford to be stuck behind Robert Dornbos for too long. As we say that, Ice-T has just got a 3-second time penalty. So Moraine, I hope you're up to speed with the penalties later on, because we're going to need to find out who's got what later. As championship leader, Ice-T running in 2nd place at the moment. 3-second time penalty. Right now, I wouldn't say he's too worried about that, but as this race progresses on, he may come to regret that if he gets into a battle with Fletcher later on. As Sean Larry now up into 5th, as Robert Dornbos is now fending off the McLaren of Max. Both of them fighting on hard tyres. This one, 4-track position. Boy on pole sets the fastest lap as well, 1:39.6 on the medium tyres. So he's getting on with it, as is Tim Coronel behind him as well. So one thing I'd have to ask is, sorry, I'll just go back to another battle on track. Neil Tix is up to 10th. But you got Max, who's gone to the inside. He's now swerved to the outside. Oh, but Robert Dornbos has blocked him off there. Was that 2 manoeuvres there? Usually, the unwritten rule.
A lot of weaving.
A lot of weaving,
I haven't looked at that.
Well, we only caught a glimpse of it, but we did see him go one way. Max went the other to try and undercut him or go over around the outside. And Robert Dornbos blocking him off there. Won't enjoy that, Max. The point I was going to make actually is, given the championship battle at the moment, Marine, we see Ice-T currently 45 points ahead of Burkay, who's in 3rd place at the moment, so he's got him covered for now. But Fletcher has been on an impressive run of form. He was very quick in the German Grand Prix, despite retiring. He should have won that race despite his mistake. He was very quick in Belgium, ended up coming 2nd in that race, and he won the Italian Grand Prix. Given what's going on at the moment, sorry, not 2nd in Belgium, he's 4th actually because he got a penalty. But given his current form and the way Fletcher's been driving, if you're Ice-T, you're 65 points ahead of him with 4 races after this one left to go. What would your thought process be? Would you be too worried about what Fletcher's doing right now, or would you say, well, I'm faster than everyone else at the moment, as long as I keep coming 2nd, I should be okay to win the championship? What would you do if you...
Yeah, exactly. I had the same kind of situation last year, but I was the chasing guy. But yeah, didn't have much of a pace advantage over the rest as Fletcher has at the moment, because he's been in an exceptional form the last 3 races. But I also had a silly guy retires.
Yeah, just going down.
I've also been in Ice-T's shoes in other leagues where I had a big lead from early on, and then new guys came. Safety car.
Safety car, yeah. So that's going to be the incident with the McLaren. Yeah, so silly guy retiring from the race. We wasn't able to see that, unfortunately, but it looks like he's put it in a wall from what I'm hearing. from some of the chat. So yeah, that's his race over for him. Unfortunate for McLaren, and Tom Coronel has got a drive-through penalty. But now, this could be an important moment. Safety car is out now, Moraine. This could change everything. Fletcher now in the Mercedes is in the pits. And Ice-T will also pit. So all the guys on the medium tyres that are 9 laps in, so that's Fletcher, Ice-T, Burkay, Magic Alonso, Robert Dornbos, Max, possibly Tim Coronel as well, and maybe Jamo as well. All looking like they might pit as Ice-T pits as well. So Fletcher's
going to retain the lead.
Yeah, and he's going to be on the hard tyres, so Fletcher. So where's Sean Larry now? So Sean Larry's just coming up as his teammate Burkay comes into the pits for the Ferrari. So Sean Larry could find himself behind Ice-T. Ice-T's just pulling out of his garage now.
Be close.
So he's going to be... Oh yeah, no, Sean Larry comfortably ahead actually. But because of this, that's been a massive disappointment for Sean Larry, because he probably would have undercutted Fletcher for the time being, although having to stop again. But now he's going to have to stop again, and Fletcher's on the hard tyres. Fletcher's going to go to the end of the race. So going back to the earlier point that was made about the strategy call from Sean Larry, gambling on the undercut or stopping twice, it's backfired on him massively now. He's now going to have to make another stop, and he's now lost track position. And well, at the moment, I would say it's very likely at the moment he may not finish on the podium. Ice-T back out in 3rd place on the hard tyres as well, but he will be the biggest winner of this, because now he's going to be right behind Fletcher, his main championship rival in my opinion. How racy will these two get? Because if you've been following some of the interviews, not to try and stir the pot here, but these two, not a lot of love lost, I think it's best to say that, between them two. Wouldn't exactly say they get on as being the best friends, these guys.
Yeah, true.
And in fairness, we haven't had many opportunities to see these two really fighting it out for track position. We had that moment in Italy where Fletcher passed him, but Fletcher was on much fresher tyres. It was a different strategy, so Ice-T couldn't really defend it. But now, how racy will Ice-T get? Because right now he knows he doesn't need to take any risks. If it were me, I would probably say, look, you can have your win, I'll keep scoring big points and go on to win the championship at the end of the season.
Exactly. That's what we were talking about when the safety car came out. When you're in such a position as Ice-T is in, having a big lead early on in the championship, you need to make sure you're consistently scoring podiums and high place finishes, like in the top 5 for most of the time, and then you're gonna get there probably. But that's pretty difficult to manage. Of course, you've got 20 drivers almost every race, and they all want to have the success, so you need to keep a calm head and just play the long game basically in these races.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And Yoda Speak, just to make a point, has actually had 2 time penalties, one for an incident behind the safety car and one for speeding in the pit lane. So that's not really good from an experienced veteran like himself. Very, very needless to get those kind of penalties. But you're absolutely right. This is going to be a very interesting dynamic. It's all really going to depend on what Ice-T does, because Fletcher has nothing to lose. Well, has nothing to lose, but he can't afford to make a mistake. Even if he retires from one race, you could argue that that's championship over. If it isn't already, he did come into this championship very, very late. And Robert Dornbos, a fan favourite, has just got a time penalty for a collision with Burkay in the Ferrari. So I was just going to say, Robert Dornbos, the big winner up the grid, is now, well, not exactly done himself favour, but the pack are surprisingly really bunched up. Are you surprised to see this, Moraine? They're just not staying single file. They're all trying to race each other behind the safety car.
Yeah, that's always the case, and also we've had that in F1, causing to some drivers retiring under the safety car or getting damaged by hitting cars ahead who suddenly braked or made a move to the side. What's happened to Niltix? He's drawn back.
Yeah, it's all going on the back. And oh, you got the Red Bull, Xavi Mateos, and Tom Coronel. This is just Tom Coronel has got himself involved in a lot of incidents today. He had that incident with Neil
Oh,
Tiggs.
what's going on? They're 3 wide and the safety car was Tom.
Oh, this is not what you want to see. Guys, single file. I mean, now look, this league isn't piled of drivers that don't know what they're doing. These are all very quick, very experienced race drivers. So I'm almost disappointed really to see that they're just not able to stay together. Just single file, lads. Like, no overtaking of the safety car. Just sit there, behave yourself, avoid any incidents, keep your tyres warm if you can, and then we're going to get under racing very, very soon. The safety car is going to be in the pits soon.
Yeah,
not this time around.
Yeah, complete pack has catched up except for Pine, who's in the 18th, but he will catch up on this lap probably.
I've just seen a couple of comments in the section. I think Felix, who was commentating with me last race in Italy, he's just mentioned, why hasn't Sean Larry decided to pit this lap under the safety car? And in a way, I can see the logic, but I imagine there's so much running left in this race that the last thing Sean Larry wants to do is get bogged down on the hard tyres behind a lot of slower cars. I think he'd rather pull away with Fletcher on the mediums, which are only 6 laps old. Bear in mind he's only done about 3 of those under the safety car, so they're fairly fresh. And then chuck on a set of softs maybe towards the end, if he can.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably too early for him to pit, even though it's behind the safety car. And given it's Singapore, there's bound to be another one. There usually is. There's been a safety car at every single Singapore Grand Prix in the real Formula 1 world. So don't expect that tradition to, or trend to be bucked anytime soon.
I was just watching Papines on board a few seconds ago, but I saw Kimi, his car was on the start-finish straight with only 3 tires, so he must have had a collision under the safety car.
Oh, that might be why. That might be why it stayed out a bit longer.
Yeah, it happened only on this lap, so yeah, very unfortunate. And yeah, this thing shouldn't be happening, of course, under the safety car.
No, I do find that strange. For as long as I've commentated on these leagues, I do find it strange how most of the on-track incidents seems to happen behind the safety car.
Yeah.
It's almost as if we need to get the rule book out or get these guys in for a driver briefing before the race just to explain the basic rules of following in a single file. I know they want to get racy, I know they want to really get at each other, and it's very competitive, but there's a time and place. And right now, Fletcher is going to become the safety car. He's going to back the pack up now as the safety car is about to come into the pits. And we're about to get underway. Oh, I tell you what, Sean Larry nearly drove into the back of Fletcher there. It's very, very dangerous. It's going to be a massive Constantina effect. It's like Singapore traffic jam and rush hour, or at least it would be in normal times. But we are not in normal times at the moment as we are about to get underway as Jamal gets the penalty. Fletcher's still back in the pack up, and now he puts his foot on the gas and he's about to get underway. Sean Larry's got a good run as well, so has Ice-T, and we are back on the green light racing. Sean Larry's in the slipstream, but VSR Ice-T looking very racy on those harder tyres, so it doesn't look like he's going to back off.
He's been spun round by Robert Dornbos. He went for a move down the inside.
Oh, I can see he's facing the wrong way, Burkai, and he's at the back of Robert Dornbos as well. But we're back under green flag racing, ladies and gentlemen, as Fletcher leads the pack, followed by Sean Larry in the Ferrari, Ice-T in the Racing Point, Max up 12, 13 places as Ice-T in one pole. Oh, and Max has been spun around in the McLaren, and he's taken the Toro Rosso of Robert Dornbos has been hit. Oh, Robert Dornbos has lost his front wing as he's had damage on his end plate though. Oh, and Max has gone all the way down the field and he's taken a few people with him, and that is such a shame. Only caught the last part, but it looked like he was on the outside of Bois and Pole and he got tagged a little bit there. We'll have to wait and see what his footage is of that incident to get an understanding.
Max gone round.
Oh no.
Went for a stupid move down the inside of the what used to be the Singapore sling chicane.
That's right, yeah. And Fletcher's got a penalty. Multiple warnings, a 3-second time penalty for Fletcher. And Tom Coronel, another penalty for him. So him and Ice-T look like they've both got a penalty each between the two of them, although We'll be able to get that verified later on as the race progresses to see where everybody is. But now it looks like we've got the top 4 fastest drivers all on the same piece of track together now, which is what we want to see. Although having said that, Brian Pohl and Sean Larry, not quite sure what their logic was earlier on with that strategy call, but we'll have to wait and see how it pans out for them later. Still plenty of racing to go as we're just about to reach the halfway point in the VRL F2 Singapore Grand Prix. It's another lap until DRS is reopened. It looks like Sean Larry has broken away from Fletcher. That 1 second gap opened up, who's has a second gap behind him to Brian Pohl. As Robert Dornbos and Neil Tix have had an incident, and Robert Dornbos, oh, sorry, excuse me, that's not quite right. Robert Dornbos in the pits to repair his front wing from that earlier incident, as too is Neil Tix. So Robert Dornbos putting on the medium tyres, so that's a bit ballsy. Is he really going to go 16, 17 laps on medium tyres?
Yeah, but he started on the hards, I think, and probably he's not got any hard tyres left to put on the car.
That's a good point, and he also did his qualifying time on the hard tyres. You're absolutely right.
Tom Coronel's turned round.
Yes, and PNP Roddy was facing the wrong way.
Massive traffic jam there.
And there's like a drag race. You've got Yoda Speak behind, and you've got Papine and Jamil, and you've got Tom Coronel again, and they're all going into each other. Oh, 5 of them.
Oh, there's the rain. Rain. It's raining.
And the great equaliser. Oh, and the Ferrari of Burkai's gone straight off again. Jamil's got a penalty for corner cutting. Oh, it's all going off now. And Fletcher says... Oh wow, and Fletcher sets the fastest lap, and just as you say that, I can start to see the droplets of rain are now starting to fall. We did say the weather may become a bit of an equaliser as Tom Coronel comes into the pit, surely not for wet tyres, but to repair some damage. But now it's starting to rain, so the one thing Sean Larry and Brian Pohl needed to equalise and give them a better chance of this race, it looks like it's going to happen. The rain is starting to fall here in Singapore. Now this should make things interesting.
Drive-through penalty.
Well, he's got a few of those in this race. He's not been shy of incidents, and Roddy has gone on to the Inters.
Oh, that's very early.
Very early.
Yeah, he was
here he is.
behind, so you might as well gamble it.
Oh, I don't know. That's usually the go-to point, or the cut-off point, to get on the intermediate tyres is when DRS is disabled. Not most known to be on the Formula 1 game. It's one of the worst kept secrets in the game. But Roddy, I found that especially on a track as hot as Singapore and as tough on the tyres, those Inters are going to cook really
Yeah,
they're going to cook a lot. But keeping an eye on his pace though, see how he does, but I'm expecting him to probably swap for another set of Inters when it gets wetter, or for some dry tyres for a couple of laps, because those Inters are going to struggle.
So much time. He's lost a second already.
Yeah.
In the few. Yeah, again. He's dropped from 13 seconds back to Robert Dornbos to now 16, so it's going really quickly. Not the right call for Roddy.
It's got to say, I love that camera angle coming out of turns 1 and 2. It shows behind the car, just above the Fletcher have a little bit of slide on the rear end there. This is just showing the airbox and the engine cover behind. It's a really nice shot. One of the better ones in the Formula 1 game.
Yeah.
Probably Felix or Jamal might fancy taking a picture of that and sending it into the Formula 1 game. They're very good at those screenshot competitions, I must say. So a big shout out to them for providing that.
And Roddy's now spun on the intermediate.
Yeah.
So.
It was a tasty battle for the last points here. Papine and Yoda Speak battling for 9th and 10th. Despite all the incidents in this race, Yoda has found himself back in the points again, so well done to him. Very resilient.
Yeah.
But it'll be good to see how Yoda can get on in the future once he's had a bit more practice, and if he continues to race in VRL F2. He's certainly got the pace and the credentials to stake a championship claim in the future if he decides to stick around. We'd love to have him.
It's now raining a bit harder.
It'd be interesting to see when the leaders decide to pit. Right now, Fletcher would have felt pretty comfortable at the moment. He usually does. He's very calm, very composed. Does make the odd little slide, but he's able to hold on to it. Since that incident in Germany, he's really got his head down and has managed to really find another gear, somewhere that not even Championship leader Ice-T has really been able to live with at the moment. But he's going around doing his own business. He's got his own plan.
Pitting. He's gambling.
It's now the time. He slows it right down. And Ice-T's got another penalty for multiple warnings. So he's getting very racy, but he's finding the limit and then going over it a little too much. Let's see what Tim Coronel G's put on. What's he putting on? There's Inters going on that Toro Rosso. So he's taken an early gamble. I still think it's a bit early. So now Ice-T is coming under massive pressure from Brian Pole. Brian Pole laid on the brakes on the inside, and he's made the move stick, and Ice-T's been forced wide. Both of them avoiding the wall just about, and Brian Pole on a compound softer than Ice-T. He makes the move and is up into third place. It's a great move from him. And well, the last thing Ice-T is going to want is to be punted into the wall trying to battle or defend a position. Because at the moment, he's got 12 championship points. He does not want to concede 25 to Fletcher at the moment. It's a good move there from Brian Pole, wouldn't you say, Moraine?
Yeah, it's of course. Now tricky in these conditions. It started to rain a bit more. So yeah, I'm gonna have to be really careful. The walls are really close to the track.
Yeah, you can see the sheen of the track.
It's a race over.
Yeah, the sheen of the track is getting very slippery now. But having said that, Sean Larry is starting to close on Fletcher. Is Fletcher starting to struggle on these tyres? Because at the moment, as you can see,
yes,
and he's pitting now. Oh, and he's just gone over it, but he's allowed a cut back in. It's a very narrow pit entrance. So Fletcher, yeah, he was starting to struggle. So Sean, oh, and Ice-T nearly goes into the wall after the final corner. So now, this could be a pivotal moment in the race. Fletcher on the intermediate tyres. So perhaps we're now starting to see the cut-off point now. Is it time? Oh, and Brian Pole, was that a bit damaged there from him? Just have a look at his car. So, yes, he's lost a bit of his end plate, Brian Pole. And Fletcher having a bit of an incident coming out, but he's out just in front of Yoda. As now everyone's starting to pit for intermediate tyres. Stein is in. Magic Alonso. He's had a very, very difficult race today, Roddy. Unfortunately, he's been the victim of a few incidents where he's been spun around. You can see, I'm with Ice-T at the moment, and that rear ender, that Racing Point, is sliding around everywhere. He is really struggling. These hard tyres are really struggling on this surface. It seems that the guys on the medium tyres, albeit older than the hard tyres that the likes of Ice-T are running, they're really struggling. The medium runners are really finding the speed, if anybody, at the moment. Just having a look, see how Fletcher's getting on. Seems okay at the moment, nothing drastic. He's staying ahead of Yoda. Oh, and Brian Pole has lost it, and he's hit the wall, and he's lost part of his front wing again, and he's stuck down into third place now. Brian Pole, a massive incident, just about manages to stay in the race. And now Ice-T back up into second place. It's getting very treacherous out there. It could be time to make the switch, and Sean Larry goes into the pits now. He knows it's time to switch. DRS has not been disabled yet, but it's now time to pit as we have a virtual safety car on the track.
That's going to be playing into the hands of Ice-T and Sean Larry. They're going to probably be ahead of Fletcher.
I don't know what caused that per se. It might have been the incident, but Sean Larry now, virtual safety car at the absolute right time. Where is Fletcher? He is nowhere near the pit lane exit. Sean Larry is going to take the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix, and Fletcher's now coming around the final corner. Is Ice-T going to get ahead of him? Absolutely right, sorry, yes. No, so Sean Larry has just come out into the lead now. Fletcher will see that Ferrari ahead of him and feel sick as a parrot. He made the stop at arguably the right time, and Larry has been saved by the virtual safety cars. We're back underway. Ice-T comes out further down the field in third place. but will be happy to know that his championship rival is now no longer leading this race. So it's now a 3-point loss rather than a 7 or a 10-point loss. So that's some good news for VSR Ice-T. It's now Sean Larry, just as he was at the start of the race, is now leading the Singapore Grand Prix. So, as we said earlier, Moraine, 7 or 8 laps ago, that pit strategy or that pit call from Sean Larry and Brian Pole looked very suspect. People in the comments section even saying, what were they doing? Now, after a virtual safety car and some wet weather, Sean Larry back on the optimum strategy again. It leaves Fletcher with work to do in the Mercedes. He's going to have to hunt down that Ferrari once again, as Robert Dornbos has got another penalty for corner cutting. The race started so well for old Robert. Now he's down the field in 14th place with work to do, and he's pushing on those inters to catch up with Niltix. As Jamil, contrast of races for him, was on the podium, driving very, very well in Italy. Now he's down at the back of the field in 16th. Not a good day for the Red Bull driver. His teammate Xavi Mateos at the moment is running in 8th place. So by contrast, he's doing okay. Still got work to do. He's trying to catch Magic Alonso, who in turn, Magic Alonso seems to be a driver that climbs the field as the race goes on. He may not look impressive at the start, but he will be right up the front towards the end, and he's looking like he's going to do that as well. These wet conditions are really suiting that Renault at the moment. Elwood Stein has gone wide just in front of him, and Magic Alonso is looking very racy. He's going to get to the inside just before under the bridge section. He's going to go late on the brakes. No, he tucks in just behind him. Probably smart and sensible. You don't want to go for a move, especially under these conditions. But now they're starting to get very racy between them. Stein is not looking comfortable in these wet conditions, and Roddy has left the session. It's a shame for him, very unfortunate in this race, but that is another retirement for the Mercedes driver. So with just over 10 laps to go at the moment, Sean Larry in the Ferrari took the lead after the first couple of laps, then was re-overtaken by Fletcher after a bold move from him, then went for an early strategy call to change his tyres, which seemed a bit strange and a bit early. But then after a safety car, some wet weather and a virtual safety car, is now back in the lead on the wet tyres. Fletcher trying to hunt down for the championship in 2nd place, with championship leader Ice-T in 3rd. Who is going to win? Let us know what you think in the comment section, as Magic Alonso is now trying to go around the outside of Stein, but Stein goes very late on the brakes. Can he get it slowed down? No, he can't. And Magic Alonso is up into 6th position. That's a great move from the Renault driver. He waited, he bided his time, waited for the mistake. It came, and then he just slid right through. That's a good move from him, up into 6th place, and now chasing down Tim Coronel, who's 5 seconds down the road. Well, the pack is starting to stretch out, and Sean Larry, Moraine, he's pulling up, he's maintaining that gap to Fletcher.
Yeah.
So he's looking very good at the moment, as it looks like Ice-T has been left on his own for 3rd place at the moment, and he'll probably settle for that. But how do you see this going? 10 laps to go, Ferrari versus Mercedes, just as we like to see. 2 drivers battling for a championship with a race win each under their belts. Which one do you think is going to be on the top step of the podium at the end?
I just checked the race director, and Sean Larry had 2 warnings, so he hasn't got a time penalty yet, but if he has 1 more track extension, that's going to be a penalty for him. And Fletcher also had a time penalty, but he also had a lot of warnings, 2 maybe. No, he had 1 after the penalty, so he can have 2 more. If he gets 2 more extensions, then he's gonna get his 2nd penalty. So yeah, it will be interesting. The gap is fluctuating a bit. At some point, Fletcher is closing in, and then a moment after, Sean Larry is pulling away again. So it's really unpredictable. Ice-T is dropping back. He can't match the pace.
No,
he's got some damage. No, he hasn't.
No, he doesn't. I mean, Ice-T, he's one of those drivers, and I will go off on a tangent a little bit with Ice-T. I do talk about him a lot for this, and I do think it's a great trait to have. It reminds me a lot of the great Alain Prost, who won 4 world championships in Formula 1 and was very well known as, or nicknamed, the Professor. The reason why he was called the Professor was obviously his genius tactically, but he had this amazing ability of knowing where he had to finish to win a world championship. So if you asked him, he had to finish 5th place to win a world title, he'd finish 5th. No more, no less. What Ice-T is doing, and he's done this for quite a while now, because he built up such a lead earlier in the championship, and some of his bigger rivals have joined later in the season, he knows he does not need to fight for the win. So whilst he is dropping back from Fletcher and Sean Larry, he knows he's 17 seconds ahead of Bois and Pole. And he knows at the moment he's only going to drop 3 points to Fletcher. Maybe he might drop 10 if Fletcher wins this race. But at the moment, he knows 15 points he'll do with that. Drive within himself, make sure he gets across the line. That's one race left to go. And if he averages that out, he'll be champion at the end of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, Fletcher is close to second inside last lap, so...
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, there's no DRS in the wet weather. DRS is disabled, but as you can see right there, the helicopter, great camera angles again, as we can see. That is the gap between Sean Larry in the Ferrari. Fletcher in the Mercedes is just over a second between the two of them. And as Hot Lap Mode official, our partners and very good friends, do give those guys a follow on social media, Instagram and Twitter as Hot Lap Mode. These guys are brilliant with the content they produce. As they've just mentioned, Fletcher pulled out 6 tenths on that last lap, and he's even quicker on this lap. The gap is now 7 tenths of a second. These two are going to be seeing each other and fighting very, very soon. As Niltix gets another penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Stein and Xavi Mateos, we're going to go to them quickly because they're having a great battle for 7th and 8th. They've just overtook each other, so Xavi got the move done, but then Stein got back at him. And Stein in the Alfa Romeo, he's no stranger to a battle on track. He seems to be fighting with almost anybody. I've never known someone to have as many on-track battles in this championship than he has. It's great to see. He's obviously enjoying himself out there. It's a bit slow, it's almost as if Xavi was trying to push him after the hairpin. You've got Yoda behind him. And now it looks like he's going to size up a move here. Is he going to go for the big ballsy dive bomb up the inside? And that's a great one there. Oh, and he just can't hold it. And Stein has just managed to stay ahead of him. And he's managed to hold on. But this track is getting very, very wet now. Are we going to see drivers pit for wet tyres? Because Niltix has just stopped to put on the wet tyres. So, and some of them are struggling on the Inters Marine. So maybe we may see some drivers come in for full wets before this race is out.
Keep track of Niltix's gap to Tom Coronel, as Jamil's just overtaken him.
Yeah, you can see it there.
Probably that's the answer to the question, are wets quicker?
Well, we say that, but the track is looking very, very slippery.
True, yeah.
It's looking, there's a lot of standing water. Yes, there's a racing line there, but if you go off that racing line or that drier patch, you're going to slide right off the road. In Singapore, you can't afford to make that mistake. They're getting very racing out the front.
Goes away very quickly. Already put 2 seconds away from Niltix.
Yeah, so that pretty much puts to bed that theory then. So, yeah, so still intermediate conditions on this track. But as you can see, once again, Fletcher right up to the gearbox now with Sean Larry. He has got nothing but hot air from that Ferrari engine in front of him. And in Singapore, the last thing you want to have is more hot air put in your face. But in the wet conditions, I don't think he'll mind that too much. So he's really, you can see that Ferrari's not able to get on the throttle out of the corners as well as Fletcher is. These two, it's going to get very interesting. Which one of these two is going to finish on the top step of the podium? Will they take each other out and present the opportunity for Ice-T to win the race? And most likely put his stamp on the championship as a result. It's all going to unfold now. We've got 7 laps to go. As Tom Coronel retires from 14th. And it's a virtual safety car, yeah.
Watch Jamil's on board. He's on the straight. No, his car's already been...
Yeah. Yeah, so unfortunately for Tom Coronel, I was just looking at the map actually, he'd stopped there, so he's obviously had an incident. I do apologise, ladies and gentlemen, we're unable to bring you all of the footage for these incidents as we are a live service and we don't have replays, I'm afraid. But if you follow some of the drivers, they'll be able to, they usually upload some of their footage, so there's plenty of highlights to get through. And of course, Once again, it's another opportunity to remind you guys, while we're in a VSC situation, that we have the VRL F1 race that is happening tomorrow. That's at 2:30 p.m. UK time, 3:30 p.m. if you're in Europe, live on the Hot Lap Mode VRL PS4 YouTube channel. Please like, share and subscribe for all the best racing content on PS4 and online racing has to offer. As we're back underway now with Fletcher, it looks like he's got the run on Sean Larry under the virtual safety car. He's going to make a lunge around the inside. He's gone for the bold move. Oh, the gap's not really there. Sean Larry comes in, but he comes back at him. He opened the door a little bit, but he just couldn't squeeze it through. It looked almost like Sean Larry was going to close him off and put him in the wall, and he backed out at the last second. Fletcher, he saw what was going to happen, so not this time. Very, very ballsy there, but good safe driving from both of them in the end.
Niltix is being lapped, so...
Well, thankfully he's ghosting, but he's going to get out of the way, so great to see a back marker. Not at Niltix. I do feel for him because he is a very quick driver, but he just doesn't seem to have any luck. He always seems to have incidents, and there does come a time where you have so many incidents where you have to look at yourself and say, you've got to do better, because he's faster than this, and at the start of the season he was driving very, very well, so hopefully he can pick that up soon as the season comes on. Perhaps he just needs to relax and drive less pressure, as Fletcher's gone for a bold one and he's hit the back of Sean Larry there.
Has he hit him? No, he just about avoided it.
Wow, it looked like he just missed him.
Close.
I was just about to say, I was talking about Niltix, and Fletcher sized up the move there, but he was very late on the brakes, and Sean Larry probably braked a little earlier, and Fletcher nearly driving into the back, and that was almost race over. Thankfully, he's managed to keep it going, no damage to either car, and we're back racing again. And this is what we were saying before. Fletcher really wants to win this race. He needs to win this race if he keeps his championship alive. And he's at this point, one mistake, as Niltix leaves session, one mistake from Fletcher, and that is potentially championship over. It is that tight at the moment. He has to be flawless, and even then that may not be enough considering how well Ice-T is driving at the moment.
Yeah, if he wins, of course he's gonna cut 10 points from that gap to Ice-T, but if he overtakes Sean Larry, he still needs to pull away 3 seconds because he's got a time penalty, and Sean Larry still has not got the time penalty.
Absolutely
in
right.
rain,
Yeah.
it's much more. You're much more careful. I've experienced that from many league races. When you're in the rain, you tend to not get that much warnings from exceeding track limits. I don't know why, but it's just you have to keep on the dry line, and when you're way too much to the outside or something, you risk getting spun out on a curb or something, so you make sure to stay within the lines. That's probably how it works.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There is a lot more leniency to that. I was just, as you were saying, that Fletcher around the last corner had a poor line, lost a lot of grip, got onto the marbles, and in the wet conditions, the marbles are the worst place you want to be.
Yeah.
It's like driving on ice, and he lost a second to Sean Larry as a result of that. And now, all that momentum he'd gained from trying to catch him, he's now going to have to do it all over again. And you're absolutely right. At the moment, Sean Larry has not got a penalty, and he knows that. He won't know what Fletcher's got at this point. Usually the only communication that we're aware of is that the teammates usually talk to each other, no one else outside, for obvious reasons. You don't want to give your rivals any mental edge or any psychological advantage, as Tiamat Marduk and ex-Matthew G used to joke about many times on the YouTuber Championships. No psychological advantage here will be given. So right now, Fletcher knows he needs to overtake and build a gap, and that is so hard to do, as Moreno's just mentioned. Sean Larry looking the more comfortable of the two. May not be faster, but he's looking comfortable in these conditions.
Yeah, exactly.
As Robert Dornbos has made an overtake, he's passed Max into 12th position as Max is in the pits. And Robert Dornbos, as I say that, gets a 3-second time penalty. Oh, Robert. It's amazing with Robert because he's a very quick qualifier, but he's always involved in the action in the races. There's never a dull race watching Robert Dornbos. I'll tell you who I do miss that isn't in the pack. I've just realised. Jaffa Baboon is not with us this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where you've been. But as I say that, sorry, just to go back, Fletcher's pulled back 1.5 seconds back, and he's right on the gearbox of Sean Larry again. So now, take number 5 probably between these two. We are back to see them two racing once again. Can Fletcher get the move done? He has to get it done now if he's going to try and make a move. And it's a great shot of the Ferrari.
He gained a second on this lap, so if he gets the move done on this lap, he should be able, with 3 laps to go after this one, he could potentially make it.
Oh, and he's got a great
to
run.
Those 3 seconds.
Just on board with him right now. Burkhardt in the sister Ferrari in 10th place, exceeding track limits, but as you can see there, Fletcher seems to be very fast in the corners, but that Ferrari is looking pretty slippery in a straight line, and that seems to be what's keeping Sean Larry ahead at the moment. The fact that he can get away in the Ferrari, pull away on the straights, and unfortunately with no DRS, Fletcher setting that car up to be very good in the corners, which will help him in the wet, but it's going to be no good if he can't overtake the car in front.
Yeah, he needs to surprise him.
Oh, and he's going, and he's nearly put it in the wall. Fletcher there, he was very, very close. He's really throwing that car about as much as he can. He is desperate to get into the lead, and he's looking like...
He seems to have bad exits. Again, to the exit of this straight, Sean Larry gained 4 tenths. He's just a lot smoother while driving the car. He knows he has to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes and keep getting good exits onto the straights. And then he's probably gonna keep Fletcher behind for long.
Brian Pole's had an incident. Brian Pole has retired. He's put it in the wall. Oh, that's a shame, and that's a virtual safety car, and he was in 4th place. Yeah, it's just where the chicane is. There he is, yeah. He'd gotten wide just the chicane before the hairpin, and he's lost it and gone straight into the wall. What a shame for Brian Pole. 4th place in the running. Another big load of points for him, completely thrown away.
Yes, he doesn't.
Well, this is going to help
it's not
Sean Larry.
It's not that bad for Sean Larry, because it's a moment to relax from fighting against Fletcher. Had that in Monaco and especially in Singapore and places like that on the street circuits. It's always when you're in a fight. Whoa!
Oh, and he's overtook him. Oh, Fletcher's
Sean
overtaken Sean Larry.
He
was not paying attention. Oh, and he's been caught napping, and Fletcher has taken the lead.
He's already got a second gap.
Where has that come from? Just when we were just about to say Sean Larry looks like he might have this in the bag, and he was absolutely asleep.
Wow.
And Fletcher, well, that's what I like to see. Race drivers who are switched on, and that's a brilliant piece of driving from Fletcher. And he now leads, and now it is a race against time. He needs to build a 3-second gap to Sean Larry behind him to win this race, and he's got 2.5 laps to do it. Can the Mercedes driver, who is fighting for a world championship? Having said that, Sean Larry is in the championship battle as well, so you can't count him out. What happened there?
Yeah, I think Sean Larry may have been had some, because in the virtual safety car you have the delta you should be driving at a certain pace. I think it's 40% of the actual race pace, and you always get a delta on the car at the steering wheel and also in the left top of your screen, saying if you're in the green and how many. So, for example, if you're 2 seconds in the green, that means you've got 2 seconds margin to get a penalty because you went too fast. And I think Sean Larry may have had a big margin, but he didn't realize that would mean that Fletcher would have had the same margin because he was right behind him. So that meant he could go on the throttle earlier when Sean Larry wasn't paying attention. So that was just a piece of quick thinking by Fletcher. And Sean Larry should have done better there, in my opinion. Not the smartest you can do, but he is staying within the gap. The gap's really staying the same. It's not increasing by that much at the moment, so yeah, could still be on to win this race, but it's going to be close.
Well, no, you're absolutely right, and the thing is with the virtual safety car, those two were right next to each other on the track when it came out. So Fletcher very cleverly knew that, and with the Delta, you're absolutely right. Sean Larry probably having to slow down to match pace just at the point where the safety car had ended, and Fletcher straight on the throttle. Earliest bird catches the worm, and he's up into the lead of the race. But do not forget, just as you mentioned, right now Sean Larry does not have a penalty according to the race director from what we can see, and Fletcher does have a 3-second penalty. So what that means is right now Fletcher has just over a lap to find 1.3 seconds. If he does not, Sean Larry will still win this race. It's going to be difficult, but don't forget Sean Larry is also on 2 warnings. One more corner car or exceeding track limits and he will get a penalty himself. And the reality is, these guys do not know what's going to happen. I was just looking earlier now as we hit the final lap. Papine had to make a pit stop for the change of front wing whilst battling with Robert Dornbos for the last championship point. So it looks like Robert Dornbos, after all those antics, is going to score a championship point. So great to see from him. But it's now the final lap. Can Fletcher find 1.2, 1.3 seconds to stay ahead of Sean Larry? Can Sean Larry keep it on the road without getting a penalty? Right now, neither of the two know what the situation is.
Yeah, there's always the communication with the in-game engineer called Jeff. You can ask him to the driver in front, and you get his lap time and the tire is on, and sometimes he also says the penalty. So if Sean Larry is smart enough to ask that, but it does take, of course, you've got to have a clear moment on the track, because you have to press like 2 buttons and you have to scroll through menus, so you have to do it on a straight, and of course in rain that's very difficult. But he could potentially know, but yeah, he's still within the 3 seconds, so...
Depends on the steering wheel that they have. I have the Thrustmaster TR300 or 300 RS, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a good steering wheel with the Ferrari F1 wheel add-on, but you have to press quite a few buttons to go through the MFD to navigate to get to that point. And on a track like this in these conditions, you'd have to do well, and plus you need a good relationship with Jeff. I often tell Jeff to just shut up and I'll get on with my race. Never does though, Jeff. But now we have Fletcher rounding the final corner, but it doesn't look like he's got enough. He's going to come across the line first, but it's looking likely that he's not. And as you can see, the race win goes to Sean Larry in the Ferrari. He won in Britain. He won in Belgium, and now he has won at the Singapore Grand Prix under the lights at the Marina Bay. It is Ferrari's day, and it is Sean Larry with the victory. Fletcher coming home in second, first across the line despite the penalty, and Ice-T third overall, and Tim Coronel now looking to come through as the fireworks are all going off now to celebrate, as Tim Coronel, a great result for him, fourth for the Toro Rosso. Magic Alonso now.
A lot of time penalties.
Yeah, a lot of penalties. So
snatch the position.
Can Magic Alonso get through? And he does. Yes. 4th place. Wow, Tim Coronel, a lot of penalties. And Xavi Mateos. Well, Stein, is he going to snick 6th place? No, he doesn't. And Yoda speak 8th place, so an improvement from him. Good to see. Can Burkhardt get through? He's 9th. And now the last championship point. Robert Dornbos, a man who was doing donuts at the Italian Grand Prix, has got another penalty. It'll be interesting to see how many he's got. You better get your calculator out, folks. Robert's been in the wars today, but he's recovered from doing donuts at the Rettifilia to getting a point in the Marina Bay. Robert Dornbos, 10th place. But here we are, the race winner, Sean Larry in the Ferrari. Ferrari on the top step of the podium once again. VSR Ice-T, the championship leader, was worried he was going to lose 10 points to Fletcher. He's only lost 3. As Fletcher will be massively disappointed. First across the line, but that penalty was the difference, and that has cost him the race. So what a race there, Moraine. So from the start of the race, it looked bleak for Sean Larry after that pit stop early on, but it paid off for him. The weather paying dividends for him, as Sean Larry has now taken the top step of the podium, and he will win the Singapore Grand Prix for VRL F2 as he lofts the trophy up high. This could be a big moment in the Drivers' Championship. We've talked often about Ice-T and Fletcher, but perhaps we've sold this man short. Perhaps Sean Larry may stake a claim for the championship as the season goes on. Still plenty of racing to go, but as it all comes to a close here under the lights at Singapore, we'll now round off the provisional order. So as I was saying before, Sean Larry, after the penalty for Fletcher, wins for Ferrari. Fletcher, a 3-second time penalty, bogs him down into second. Ice-T, championship leader, third once again on the podium. Magic Alonso in fourth in the Renault. Once again a great drive from him to recover. Tim Coronel fifth. Javi Mateos once again scoring points in Red Bull. Stein in seventh in the Alfa Romeo. Yoda Speak eighth in the Haas. Burkay ninth in the Ferrari. Robert Dornbos, starting at the back of the grid, manages to get up into 10th overall. Another great race, another brilliant piece of driving and piece of racing from all out there. This is what VRL racing is all about, and we are now about to interview the top three drivers, as thankfully my co-commentator Moraine, thank you very much for inviting the top three.
Larry's already joined the party.
Oh, someone's very keen, nice to see. So yes, so let's commence with the post-race interview. So we'll start off with our race winner. So Sean Larry, excellent drive, congratulations, you are the winner of the VRL F2 Singapore Grand Prix. How do you feel?
Yeah, thank you. It was such a tough race. Lots of bold strategy calls. A big thank you to Juan Bo. He was talking me through it all the way through, so yeah, very tough race in terms of pace. This is one of my best tracks, and Fletcher was super fast, so trying to keep him behind in the dry was super hard. You had to make no mistakes, and yeah, the virtual safety car at the end just got me there. I was in trouble with the delta time, so I didn't want to risk getting a drive-through, so I just slowed down. And yeah, after that it was all about keeping within 3 seconds, which I managed to do by the end, which is never the way you want to win, but yeah, it's such a hard race, I'll take it any day. And plus with my setups, they never work in the wet, so it was so difficult to keep my car under control, so really happy with the result.
Well, no, you drew a lot of good points actually there, because I was just about to say it's your second win of the season, I believe. The second driver to get a second victory in VRL F2 this season. I was going to ask actually, that early strategy call that you and Brian Poe both made to pit seemed like it was the wrong decision to make, but it paid off for you. Did you know that the wet weather was going to come and perhaps it might be worth pitting on earlier, a more influential strategy, or was that just a bold call to try and undercut earlier on in the race?
Yeah, so we knew the rain was coming, and at the time I was just passed by Fletcher. Fletcher wasn't pulling away, but I couldn't get too close. The straight line speed was so massive. So Wampo, he got wing damage, so he said he's going to pit for mediums, and then that will carry him to the rain. And I thought that's a great idea, because you get an undercut and you'll be on medium tires until the rain period, which is better than the old mediums which we would have had at the start. So that's what I did. Unfortunately the safety car came out, which meant the leaders could pit for the hard tires, but yeah, it was a really great call from Juan Po. It was his idea and I stole it.
Oh, well, that's absolutely fine. I mean, I guess we'll credit him with the assist. Unfortunately, he had an incident later on in the race which caused him to retire and miss out on 4th place. But no, as I said, congratulations to you. So we've talked a lot about the other two drivers finishing on the podium today, having a potential championship challenge. That's your second win of the season now. So do you feel that there's every chance that you may have a late claim for this championship if you keep driving the way that you are?
Yeah, really there's no pressure on me. I'm just coming in here and doing the best I can. Going into qualifying is where you're usually really shaky and you're nervous, but on my lap I was just focused on delivering a good lap. So there's really no pressure on me, and yeah, that's really what I'm out here to do. Just try and carry on, do my best, and see what I can get. I haven't seen the points table, but if there's a small chance I can get it, then I'll give it my all.
Oh, that's great to hear. Very well done to you, sir. Congratulations once again. That is your winner of the VRL F2 Singapore Grand Prix, Sean Larry in the Ferrari. Congratulations, my friend. Wish you all the best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that moves on to our runner-up, Mr. Jay Fletcher. How are you doing this evening, mate?
Pending penalty removal, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think it's pretty clear cut that well, no pun intended, but I think it's pretty clear cut that I did absolutely nothing wrong to get that penalty, and I got no warnings after. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have the win back because yeah, well, penalty system's broken. So yeah.
Okay, well that's interesting. Of course, we only saw part of the action just as the penalty was awarded to you from our angle, so we were not able to make a fair judgment. But of course the stewards will be reviewing all the footage from all the drivers. So ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, the drivers do submit their footage when they want to query incidents and have them investigated, and obviously the stewards will make those decisions based on what they feel is best based on the evidence later on. So do keep an eye on the social media channels for any updates regarding penalties or penalty removals in this case. So in regards to the race, Fletcher, it looked all the while, you know, pole position. It was a great qualifying lap, I have to say. Took us all a bit off guard, actually. And the race, for quite a while, looked very, very comfortable at times. In the wet weather, it seemed like at first you were having a bit of difficulty trying to catch Sean Larry until the very end. Were you struggling in the wet conditions, or were you trying to bide your time for an overtake?
I was just trying to keep the car in a straight line. I knew I was quicker, but it was when I caught up to him, I just couldn't make the move, so I backed off for like a lap and a half, cooled the tyres down, caught him back up, and then he was so slow on the safety car restart. Like, I was 4 or 5 seconds into my delta. So I just kept going, and then he stopped, so I just overtook him. I don't really know why he did that, but yeah, he basically handed me the lead. I made a 2-second lead, but yeah, obviously the penalty stopped me from winning the race, but I think, yeah, if that penalty isn't removed, then frankly I've been robbed of a race win.
No, I mean, totally understandable. I was just going to actually ask about that incident under the virtual safety car, because it was a brilliant piece of driving, and I'm an advocate of drivers really staying switched on at moments, and that was one of the more enjoyable moments to see that. Sean Larry mentioned that his delta showed that he was just on the limit, so he had to keep slow. So am I right in thinking that you were like right behind him in that regard, or as you said, did you have time in your pocket within the delta to just make that move?
Like 4.5 seconds in the delta, in the green. Like, he was so slow during the whole safety car, so I just kept braking into the corners, which increases your delta if you brake long and hard into a corner. So I just had 4.5 seconds worth of green, and then he was so slow on the restart, so I just got past instantly.
I definitely didn't have 4 seconds in my pocket, as you saw.
Yeah, so...
No, that's fair enough. Okay, so yeah, just to round it off then, just so the rest of the season now, not many races left. We'll see, pending the stewards' inquiry over the penalty, whether or not that will be upheld or not. Thoughts towards the rest of the season, Fletcher? Do you still feel that, let's say if the result stays as it is, do you feel there's still enough time for you to catch Ice-T in the championship?
Yeah.
You do.
That's
Brilliant.
all.
Love to see, love to hear it. Simple and honest. Great to hear. Well, thanks very much. Thanks very much. It was another great drive from you. Of course, we will wait to see what the final outcome is regarding that investigation. But all that's left to say, Fletcher, once again, congratulations on another podium, and wishing you all the best for the rest of the season, mate. Great drive.
Cheers.
So that brings us right last and certainly not least, our championship leader, Ice-T. once again on the podium. I said to you last week, I almost feel like I'm talking to you on a weekly basis, and here we are again. Congratulations on the 3rd place finish. What was your assessment on your race? It was a fairly quiet one by your normal standards.
Yeah, it was not a good race for me. Incident in turn 2 with Jamil and I think Paul. That takes me to P8, I think.
Okay,
Hello?
so yeah.
Sorry, I thought my internet was gone.
Oh no, that's alright.
I was gone to P8 and I was struggling to the pace, so it was a really difficult race. Congratulations to Sean Larry, great race by him. So.
Thank you.
So yeah, so obviously whilst we've got Sean Larry with us as well, obviously we've talked often about yourself in a battle with Fletcher potentially for this championship, although the gap is quite large. Sean Larry is not too far away either. Do you feel that perhaps he can also stake a late charge for this championship, or do you still feel like at the moment it's yours to lose?
I think there are not many races left, so he's a great driver. I have great battles with him on Belgium, so he can race fair. But I think there are not many races left, so...
No, you're absolutely right, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Ice-T is an amazing driver. You see how he dropped a P8 and then he's on the podium again, so it's all about that consistency. And yeah, he's really got that, so it would take a lot to beat him. But maybe next season.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is what I like to hear. The drivers, you know, it's a respective rivalry, but no, you're absolutely right. There's not many races left to go, but as we said, anything can happen. And right now, all that's left for me to say is it's a great drive again from you, Ice-T. Great performance, and it's a champion's drive, to be honest. I mean, I will ask one question. In the wet, you were obviously falling back behind the 2 leaders. Were you sort of driving within your own ability and not pushing that much, or were you struggling to keep up?
Under the virtual safety car I got damage, right, left, orange I think, so yeah, and there was no pushing for me.
That's fair enough.
I was just taking the car home.
No, that's absolutely fine. And to be fair, I was saying to my co-commentator Moraine that it had the hallmarks of Alain Prost in the sense where he would often drive in a way that ensure that he'd win a world championship rather than try and push for glory and think about the long-term battle, which is what you've done today. So no, congratulations, great drive once again, and another podium. So all the best for the rest of the season, mate, and I'll probably speak to you again next week, as I so often do.
Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so that was the race, ladies and gentlemen. As we heard the thoughts of Fletcher in particular, he feels that he was robbed of a victory as a result of a penalty awarded to him unfairly, which he will then send the footage to the stewards to review, which they will review in the weeks. Do keep an eye on that. As for now, the provisional winner, Sean Larry in the Ferrari, once again, 2nd time he's won in VRL F2 this season, and that was a fantastic Singapore Grand Prix. I'm sure you will agree. It had it all, had weather, had incidents, had safety cars, some great overtaking, and also some shock value as well. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the VRL YouTube channel. That's Hot Lap Mode VRL PS4 to see some great racing for VRL F2. And of course, don't forget tomorrow we have the small matter of the VRL F1 race, which is also at Singapore, 2:30 PM UK time, 3:30 PM European time. Be sure to watch that on the same channel. You will not get racing like that anywhere else. All that's left for me to say is have a great night, everybody. I'm Adam Burge, your commentator. Stay safe, look after yourself, and we'll see you in the next VRL F2 race. Good night.